and the light bulb goes off over Chapman's head, and he tells Connor Wong and Veritek, "Wow, I've never thought about spotting my fastball."
The ravine rises, ready to erupt.
What if I told you that in 2025, two 37-year-old pitchers are not just competing at the highest level of baseball, they're actually having some of the best stretches of their entire careers. And on top of that, a 42-year-old who is redefining what it means to be a modern starting pitcher. A player who, despite his age, can pitch deeper into games than most 20-year-olds. And we're talking about guys who should be thinking about retirement, guys who should be watching their velocity drop and their effectiveness fade. But instead, they're out there absolutely dominating hitters like it's 2012 all over again. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of Aroldis Chapman, Clayton Kershaw, and Justin Verlander. Three legends who have quite literally defeated Father Time and are making a mockery out of the aging curve that destroys most pitchers. But before we get into the video, I just want to say thank you guys so much on our road to 25,000 subscribers. I cannot believe we would make this goal so fast. It is amazing. This channel is exploding. You guys are being unbelievable. I really appreciate all the support and love in the comments. I'm going to be giving away 3 extra jerseys just because I love you guys. I'm going to put those 3 winners in the comment section below. So thank you guys again. And don't worry, we will be doing more giveaways in the future on our road to 50K. So stay tuned. And just for anyone who's curious, how do I know who has notifications turned on and is subscribed? Well, usually when I upload a video and I see those comments coming in fast right after upload, those are the people I know have my notifications turned on. So now that that's out of the way, let's get right into it. Let's start today with the more arguably shocking story. Aroldis Chapman's absolute renaissance with the Boston Red Sox. When the Red Sox signed Chapman to a 1-year, $10.75 million deal in December 2024, most people were skeptical. Here's a guy who was coming off what many considered the downside of his career. In 2022, he posted the highest ERA of his career at 4.46. From 2021 to 2024, he had 4 of his 5 worst seasons by strikeout to walk ratio. The Cuban Missile looked like his fuel was running out. But then something incredible happened in Boston. Chapman didn't just bounce back. He's having what might be the best season of his 16-year career. And check these numbers out. Chapman is posting a 1.02 ERA. That's the lowest of his entire career. He struck out 76 batters in just 53 innings with 27 saves. But here's the crazy part. Since June 1st, Chapman has been absolutely untouchable. In nearly 3 months, he's allowed just 6 hits and has an ERA of 0.31. That's 6 hits in almost 3 months. That's not human. And the Red Sox clearly know what they have because just this week, they extended Chapman through 2026 for $13.3 million with a mutual option for 2027. That's a massive vote of confidence in a 37-year-old closer. But here's what makes this story absolutely insane. Chapman is still throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs like it's nothing. In fact, he's still clocking 102 and 103 regularly.
That sails wide.
That 103-mile-an-hour pitch you just saw broke the Red Sox franchise record for hardest pitch ever thrown. But here's the catch. He broke his own record because just weeks prior, this pitch against the White Sox was the record.
And strike one. 102.
And keep in mind, Chapman is 37 and has played for 7 teams, and yet he still holds the velocity record for 6 of them. Let me put into perspective just how generational Chapman's velocity is. Chapman holds the Guinness World Record for the fastest pitch ever recorded at 105.8 back in 2010. That was 15 years ago, and he's still sitting there throwing 103 like it's a changeup. As recently as August 2024 with the Pirates, he was hitting 105.1. His arm should have fallen off by now. This guy has thrown more 100-mile-an-hour pitches than any pitcher in MLB history, and yet here he is at 37, still bringing that same insane heat. But velocity alone doesn't explain Chapman's incredible turnaround. The real story is something that happened this season that completely revolutionized how Chapman approaches pitching, and it's gonna blow your mind. Just listen to what Buster Only says, and I promise you'll think it's fake.
Aroldis Chapman's command's been kind of spotty. Connor Wong is using PitchCom, and he pushes on his PitchCom inside fastball, and the light bulb goes off over Chapman's head, and he tells Connor Wong and Veritek, wow, I've never thought about spotting my fastball. This is the first time, like, verbally hears inside fastball, outside fastball, aim small, miss small. That's what Chapman has done this year after hearing those words, and all of a sudden his whole perspective has changed.
Think about that for a second. This is a guy who's been throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs for over a decade, and he never tried to locate them. He was just throwing as hard as he could and hoping for the best. The philosophy became aim small, miss small, and suddenly Chapman transformed from a thrower into a pitcher. He's now exhibiting elite command, walking just over 7% of hitters he's faced this season, which is not only the best in his career, but the best by an entire percent. Not to mention the fact that opponents have a 365 OPS against him, not a 365 slug or OBP. That's their OPS against him, which, by the way, is of course another career high. It took him until age 37 to learn how to actually pitch instead of just throwing hard, and now he's unstoppable. He already had a debatable Hall of Fame career before this, but come on guys, now there's a chance he can cement himself as one of the top 3 best closers of all time. Chapman hasn't allowed a hit since July 23rd. That was also the last time he blew a save. In August alone, he's made 12 appearances with a 0 ERA and 14 strikeouts in 11 innings. Opposing batters are hitting 0 against him this month. That's literally video game numbers, and that's a guy at age 37. Now let's switch gears for a minute, and I want to talk about Clayton Kershaw because his story is just as incredible, but just in a completely different way. While Chapman is all about power and dominance, Kershaw's story in 2025 is about pure craftsmanship, intelligence, and an almost supernatural ability to reinvent himself after devastating injuries. Kershaw is also 37 and posting a 9.2 record with a 3.06 ERA in 17 starts. But those numbers don't tell the full story for what this man has overcome. After the 2023 season, Kershaw had shoulder surgery. His 2024 season was cut short by a bone spur in his big toe. Then he had surgery for a torn meniscus in his left knee and surgery for a ruptured plantar plate and bone spurs in his toe. Most players would hang up the cleats after all of that, but Clayton Kershaw isn't most players. In 2025, Kershaw signed another one-year deal for $7.5 million and came back for his 18th season with Dodgers, tying the franchise record for most seasons with one team. But what followed next was anything but a storybook ending, because through Kershaw's first 4 starts of the season, he pitched 5 innings just one time, walked more batters than he struck out, and had an ERA in the 5s. He was terrible, but that all started to change in mid-June when Kershaw started to finally find his stride. And since then, his ERA has been 2.6 in nearly 80 innings of work. He's been as dominant as ever. And get this, on July 2nd this year, Kershaw struck out his 3,000th batter, becoming the 4th left-handed pitcher in MLB history to reach that milestone. The other 3 are Hall of Famers Randy Johnson, Steve Carlton, and CC Sabathia. But here's what makes Kershaw's story even more remarkable. He's not just surviving at age 37, he's thriving. Dodgers president Andrew Friedman called him the ultimate competitor, and that perfectly captures what we're seeing. Kershaw has completely reinvented his approach. Gone are the days of mid-90s heat and devastating curveballs. Now he's just operating with elite command, mixing speeds, and pitching to contact. The best way to illustrate this would be to look at his ground ball percentage in 2025. It's just under 50%, which is on pace to be the best ground ball percentage of his career in a full season. Now let's look at his K percentage. In 2025, he's striking out just 16.3% of batters he's facing, which is the lowest of his career by a ton. You would think that that correlates to bad command, right? Well, no, you'd be wrong, because his walk percentage has actually cratered to just 5.9%, which is also the lowest he's had since 2022, when his ERA was 2.28. So Clayton Kershaw has completely reinvented himself from a strikeout pitcher to a soft contact pitcher. His fastball might average around 88-90 miles per hour now, but it doesn't matter because he knows exactly where to put it. He's not trying to blow the heater by you or make you swing and miss at curveballs anymore. He wants you to hit it softly to his defense. But if you want to talk about truly mind-bending, let's discuss what Justin Verlander did literally today. At 42 years old, 42, Verlander just struck out 10 batters in 5 innings against the Baltimore Orioles while throwing 121 pitches. That's his first 10 strikeout game since October 4th, 2022, and it makes him the oldest pitcher to fan 10 or more in a game since Randy Johnson did it at 44 back in 2008. In fact, just 3 pitchers 42 or older have thrown 120 pitches in a 10 strikeout game. That would be Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson, and now Justin Verlander. That's a 42-year-old man throwing 121 pitches, something that's become almost extinct in modern baseball and completely dominated major league hitters. And the crazy part is that everyone wrote Verlander off earlier this season. He started the year terribly with the Giants, and people were saying, okay, this is it, it's time to hang them up. But just like Chapman and Kershaw, Verlander had other plans. Through the first 12 starts of Verlander's tenure with the Giants, he was just flat out bad. He had a 4.52 ERA, and his walk to strikeout ratio was terrible. It seemed like the 42-year-old was hanging on by a thread. But guess what? In his last 7 starts, Verlander is rocking a 3.38 ERA and has walked way less batters. The San Francisco Giants might be 5 games out of the NL wild card at the start of September, but if they have any hope of making a miracle run, it's going to have to involve Justin Verlander turning back the clock and pitching like the ace he was just 3 seasons ago. And the craziest thing is that Justin Verlander has hurt every muscle in his body. He's gotten Tommy John surgery, won the World Series, missed the playoffs. He's been through it all, but somehow through thick and thin, he's still determined to be the best pitcher he possibly can be. He's a 42-year-old solid mid-rotation arm in a sport where most pitchers are done by 35, and yet he's out here throwing 121 pitches, striking out 10 major leaguers like it's just another day at the office. And that was the 73rd time in his career that Verlander had reached double-digit strikeouts. And at his age, every single one of those performances become even more remarkable. What Chapman, Verlander, and Kershaw are doing isn't completely unprecedented, but it's incredibly rare in this day and age. To put things into perspective, in order to find similar seasons from pitchers, we need to turn the clock back a few decades. Randy Johnson was an absolute monster at age 37 and 38. In 2001, at age 37, he posted a 2.49 ERA and struck out a personal record 372 batters. The following year, at 38, he had a 2.32 ERA and won the pitching triple crown with 24 wins, 334 strikeouts, and that microscopic ERA. Roger Clemens had one of the greatest seasons ever by a pitcher over 40 when he posted a 1.87 ERA at the age of 42 in 2005 with the Astros. The Rocket was still throwing mid-90s heat into his mid-40s. It's just crazy. And who could forget Nolan Ryan, who led all of baseball in strikeouts from age 40 to 42 when he struck out 799 batters in 3 seasons with a 3.17 ERA. It's insane. Another one is Dennis Martinez, who threw a perfect game at age 37 and went on to start World Series games at age 41. But here's what makes our future Hall of Fame trio so special. They're doing it all in the modern era where the competition is harder, hitters are better prepared, and the physical demands are higher than ever. So what's the secret? How are these guys still competing at the highest level when most pitchers' arms are torn to shreds by 35? Justin Verlander is 42 years old, for crying out loud. How is he outperforming guys half his age? For Chapman, it's clearly that combination of freakish genetics and his late career discovery of command. Plus, he admitted in the past he spends tons of money to maintain his core strength and arm. The man is quite literally built different. His arm is like a howitzer that somehow never breaks down. But adding precision to that power has now made him virtually unhittable. In 2025, Chapman's fastball and slider have insane high whiff rates, 31.3% for the fastball and 51% for the slider. When you combine 103 mile an hour heat with pinpoint accuracy, there's literally nothing hitters can do. For Kershaw, it's all about adapting. He's completely changed his approach as he's aged, transforming from a power pitcher to a craftsman. Modern training methods, better injury prevention, and surgical advances have allowed him to come back from injuries that would have ended extended careers in previous eras. And Verlander, he's the ultimate example of longevity through preparation and conditioning. At 42, he's still throwing 120 plus pitches because he's taking care of his body like a machine. His work ethic and dedication to his craft have allowed him to compete with guys half his age and still dominate them. Plus, Verlander himself has admitted he didn't pitch as much as a kid compared to youth baseball now. Now, I could make an entire video about why kids are ruining their arms by pitching way too much in their youth, but I'll save that for later, and let me know if you want me to do that in the comments below. And I'll just say for now, Verlander has benefited greatly from still having a fresh arm by the time he was playing in professional ball. But I would also be remiss if I didn't mention that these players also benefit from modern bullpen usage and medical data. Chapman, Kershaw, and Verlander are being carefully managed with pitch counts and extra rest. The Red Sox have literally refused to use Chapman in save situations this season because their medical staff told Alex Cora not to. But let's be real, what these guys are doing is still borderline supernatural. The fact that Chapman can throw 103 at age 37 after all those innings and all those high stress situations is just insane. And Kershaw coming back from multiple surgeries to post a 9-2 record shows the heart of a true champion. And what about Verlander? How in the world is a guy who was drafted over 20 years ago still throwing 120 pitches and still being able to strike out 10 guys? That's the stuff you only hear about on MLB The Show. Now for a second, let's just break down how historically good these seasons are. Chapman's 1.02 ERA puts him in contention for best Red Sox closer season ever. And we're talking about a team with legendary closers like Craig Kimbrell, Jonathan Papelbon, Koji Uehara. His .31 ERA since June 1st is video game stuff. He's currently sporting a sub 120 batting average against, meaning hitters are basically helpless. Chapman has struck out nearly 40% of the batters he's faced this season. And remember, he became the all-time strikeout leader among left-handed relievers earlier this year, passing Billy Wagner's previous record of 1,196. And that's why Chapman really might be one of the best closers of all time. Now, for Kershaw, his 9-2 record at age 37 puts him in elite company. His 2.52 career ERA is the second lowest among starters in the live ball era, with at least 1,000 innings pitched. Only Ed Walsh is ahead of him. Now, the success of these three legendary arms in 2025 is changing how we think about pitchers' age. Traditionally, we expected pitchers to decline significantly after age 32, 33, but these guys are proving that with the right approach, the right training, and maybe some genetic gifts, pitchers can be elite well into their late 30s. Chapman's extension through 2026 with a 2027 option shows that teams are willing to bet on an older pitcher who takes care of their body and continues to evolve their game. For young pitchers watching this, the lesson is clear. Raw talent will only take you so far. Chapman dominated for years with just pure velocity, but it wasn't until he learned to locate his pitches that he became the best version of himself. And Kershaw's story shows that intelligence and adaptability can extend careers far beyond what we thought possible. When your fastball drops from 95 to 88, you better have a plan B, C, and D ready to go. As for Verlander, little league coaches, take notes. Do not make your young pitchers go more than 100 pitches multiple times in a week. Do not try to maximize a 12-year-old's velocity because it means you're gonna win an AAU tournament. Why? Because you're ruining their arms. There's a huge chance that if Justin Verlander prioritized velocity as much as his peers when he was younger, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing at age 42. All of these guys have had their fair share of drama and controversy throughout their careers, but it's impossible to ignore the elephant in the room. Chapman is a phenomenal pitcher, but off the field, well, that's an entirely different story. In short, he's a great pitcher, but a bad person. Kershaw, on the other hand, mainly suffers from a playoff choker narrative. He has incredible regular season success, but struggles in the postseason. Critics have long questioned whether he can perform in the biggest moments despite the fact he's a World Series champion. And Verlander Verlander, well, he'll never escape the 2017 Astros cheating scandal, and the fact that some of his best years came during the MLB spider tack controversy. But 2025 has been about historic seasons for all of these players. Chapman has found a home in Boston, where his veteran leadership is valued and his on-field dominance speaks for itself. The Red Sox have gone from having an unreliable bullpen to having statistically the best bullpen in the American League, largely because they know Chapman will shut the door down in the ninth. For Kershaw and Verlander, every start at this point adds to their legend. They're both already first ballot Hall of Famers with 6 Cy Youngs and 2 MVPs combined, but this late career excellence is cementing both of their statuses in Cooperstown. What makes these seasons even more impressive is the competition they're facing. Modern hitters are better prepared than ever with video analysis, advanced scouting, and training methods that previous generations never had access to. Chapman is facing lineups full of guys who can turn around 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, something that was impossible 20 years ago. Yet he's still making them look foolish. Kershaw is going up against hitters who have access to every pitch he's ever thrown, spray charts, heat maps, and tendencies, yet his baseball IQ is still allowing him to stay one step ahead of them. And Verlander is forced to be one of the best starters for the Giants team, fighting to make the playoffs in one of, if not the hardest division in all of baseball. The 42-year-old is regularly pitching against Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Corbin Carroll, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, Jackson Merrill, and plenty of other NL West superstars. The Red Sox are currently in second place in the AL wildcard standings, largely because they're winning the games they used to lose, and Chapman is a major reason why. It's not a coincidence that the season they sign him, they're gonna make the playoffs for the first time in 4 years. The Dodgers, with Kershaw as a key rotation piece, are always in contention, and his veteran presence and clutch performances continue to be invaluable. And the Giants, well, yeah, they are just scrapping at a chance to make the NL wildcard, and I'm not gonna blame that on Verlander. That team's offense has just disappeared, but if they are gonna have a chance at making a miracle run to the playoffs, Verlander is going to have to continue to rack up double-digit strikeouts as he approaches 50 years old. So here's what every team in playoff contention needs to understand right now. Chapman, Verlander, and Kershaw aren't just having good seasons, they're peaking at the perfect time. The Red Sox just locked up Chapman through 2026, and that extension happened for a reason. Boston knows they have a weapon they could single-handedly swing playoff series. When you have a closer that hasn't allowed a hit in over a month and is throwing 103 miles an hour with pinpoint accuracy, you don't let that walk away. The Red Sox are currently sitting in the second wildcard spot, and Chapman is the biggest reason why. He's turned what used to be nail-biting ninth innings into automatic wins. When Chapman comes in, the game is over, period. For the Dodgers, having Clayton Kershaw healthy and effective in October changes everything. This is a guy who's been criticized for postseason struggles, but now he's armed with a completely different skill set and a veteran's wisdom. At 37, he's not trying to overpower anyone. He's just going to outsmart every hitter he faces. Same thing goes for Justin Verlander and the Giants. Verlander is finally starting to turn around his season at the perfect time for the Giants to make one last final push for the playoffs. If anyone knows how to make and win playoff games, it's Justin Verlander, who has pitched over 220 innings in the postseason. And the bottom line is, what we're witnessing isn't just a feel-good story about aging gracefully. This is about 3 legends that have figured out how to be better than ever right as the playoffs approach. So to every playoff team out there, you've been warned. Father Time hasn't just been defeated, he's been completely embarrassed by 3 legends who refuse to go quietly into the night. The Cuban Missile is locked and loaded. The Dodger legend is crafting masterpieces. And JV is casually outlasting players young enough to be his son. All of them are ready to prove that sometimes the best stories happen when everyone expects you to just fade away. But I am curious what you guys think. Do you think Chapman is a top 3 closer of all time? Do Kershaw and JV try to stick around in the majors for yet another year after this one? What do you guys think? Or is there any other players I'm forgetting that have turned back the clock? Let me know in the comments below. That's all for today. I'll see you on the next one.